JB Cycles with a weekend update on December the 1st. So markets are still not closed, but let's do the video. As we see, we are at my 4-week cycle top in black here. And market action this week has been like my scenario so far. Looking good. Well, let's just skip over to the hourly data for Dow Jones Industrial. Isn't this nice? You know, I have these primitive guidelines for what to expect from if this is a real 5-week rally, and you know, they're spot on. The Dow Jones did exactly as expected. Also, I have to say this week, although I haven't showed you it during the week, my wavelets were all over the place and not giving me any buying setup here, rather saying it looks like a top, it looks like a top. But I knew my 4-week cycle was bullish. I knew I had these scenarios. I knew we were in a 2-week oscillation. So I suspected upside, and there we got it. Well, let's remove this scenario. What to expect from here? Well, after a 5-week rally, so the easy upside, or I should say the upside, is taken out. But from here it gets difficult. We could continue slightly upwards, go sideways, we could correct down. From here it gets much more difficult. But I would say my general scenario would be a top on Monday, down pretty much all week, as my cycle will show you. Then we have a 2-week oscillation low, then another one, popping up and going down into Christmas, around Christmas time. So that's my general scenario. And looking at my 4-week cycle, well, here I pretty much have the same scenario, and I showed you last video, when you have finished a correction, expect a 5-week rally. You know, you rally all the way through one 4-week cycle, and then another push here. Well, you have 3 of these 2-week oscillations. So I showed you back here, you know, no reason to sell here, and actually we continued a bit. I showed you this, no reason to sell before at this point, and we corrected good. Here, no reason to sell until here, and well, here it didn't crash down. It was more a sideways consolidation. And so, what to expect here? Well, yeah, you know, after such a rally, we don't have to crash down. If this now manifests as a real bull market, you know, look here, what happens in bull markets? This was the COVID low. No reason to sell until here, but you know, no reason to sell after that either. If we go from that correction low, no reason to sell before here, but actually, hey, no reason to sell after either. Take this correction low, no reason to sell before this point, but hey, no reason to sell after either. And I can continue like this. We don't crash down after a 5-week rally. If we go here, okay, went sideways, then went down. So you know, normally that 5-week rally is just the beginning of a longer trend before we finally get the correction. So I have 2 larger scenarios here. I'll come back to those, but I think the upside for December is mostly taken out. We will go sideways mostly the rest of December, and in January we could either rally or have a correction. Most likely a rally. I have a scenario from the 10-week oscillation identified by the VIX. As we see, my scenario mostly goes sideways for 1 week, and then well, suggesting some kind of downside into around New Year, and then we should rally again. Also I have here in orange my 4-week cycle. So we see we are around the top of my 4-week cycle. The top here is around Monday, I think. So let's see, what do I have? My wavelet for the S&P. My wavelets here in yellow, we see these 3 waves, or I call it 5 waves. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you want to count that way. So that suggests for me, could be a little bit more upside here Monday, Tuesday. Then I would go cash and just have a Christmas vacation all the rest of December. Longer term, I think we're now in the bull market, lasting into around Christmas next year, and I think this trend channel is a possible trend channel for this bull market. It could be like this also, and when we break this trend line, break down here in a year or about a year, then the next bear market begins. That's where the 3.5-year cycle has a top. So I could see 2 scenarios play out from now. We go sideways in December, we then rally in January, we test the all-time high, and eventually we break out to higher highs, and then when we break down, it's a bear market. So although I'm rather bullish at this point, because I'm seeing so many people being pessimistic and bearish, and that makes me bullish. It's like here in the previous bull market, everyone were bullish. It was Tina, no alternatives, only buying stocks, and I was bearish. So I like to be a bit contrarian. So I don't love this bull market either, because I'm overall very bearish, but that bearishness is for hold another year, unless I get surprised. But my cycle says bullish for another year. So that's one scenario suggesting the correction is over, and now the market is just focused on testing the all-time high. It's a slight possibility we could go sideways in December and then have a correction in January. I would leave this, like a 20% chance or less. But then, after a correction in January, we do pretty much the same and rally into around Christmas. So, I guess that was it. So, I think we go sideways pretty much for a week, and then I guess the Fed decision is around mid-December sometime, and then some bearishness into New Year, possibly into January, and then we should rally. But also I have a scenario saying sideways into New Year and then a correction with much less probability. Also, I should point out Dow Jones, I call it a momentum indicator. It's a homemade indicator, so to say. Here I have hourly data going back to, let's see, 2014 or something. I have hourly data going back to 2007. So what we see here is we are extremely overbought, but that is actually bullish. Well, sometimes it can be a blow off top, like here. We were extremely overbought and we crashed down. But mostly, if we are very, very overbought, we need to make higher highs on less momentum, divergence. This high momentum means there's more to come. So, I don't think this is a blow off top. It says that was a bear market low. This was not a shoulder. We had a 3-month correction, got very oversold. Now we have to test all-time highs in next year sometime. See ya!